properly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. So today we will be covering related to the intrusion detection system for the residential application. So today we will learn, first of all, that why we have to give the intrusion detection system for residential sectors, and when we go with the IDS system, that what all things we need to give for the residence sector, right? Let us proceed with this today's agenda. So today's agenda will be we will see that the application area of residential sector, where we need to give the IDS system and why we need to give the IDS system, why it is more appropriate than the CCTV. Then for giving the IDS system, we have to do the site survey. Then after that site survey, we will learn how to do the installation and the concept of programming, and then a little bit about the zone programming. So this will be today's agenda. And in the second part, because today is the first part we are covering, in the second part, which will be after 7 days, 7 or 8 days, sometimes we have given the tentative date, we will learn more deeper programming, which is related to the area global section, and then the communicator part, which is the smartcom. And after that, we will see what is the commissioning and the handover procedure, because these are very important concepts in order to execute the IDS system. Okay, so for the residential application, um, as you already know about the CCTV cameras, the CCTV application. So if we talk about why the IDS system is different from CCTV, then the second point is why should we should not compare the CCTV with the IDS system. So there are a couple of differences where we have to explain to the end customer that the IDS system is completely different with the camera, with the CCTV cameras. So number one, you cannot provide the CCTV camera everywhere. So if as we are taking the example of residential sectors, so you cannot give the cameras in the bedrooms, in their, customers are not very much ready to show their privacy everywhere. So the CCTV camera we cannot put each and every location. Number one. Number two, CCTV camera is like a post-mortem, right? It does not tell you that intrusion is happening. Maybe some of the bits in today's technology, they have added some more advanced features, but it cannot replace the IDS system. And related to number third point is related to the cost. So if you put more CCTV cameras, it will increase your cost also. Now, as compared to the IDS system, the IDS system is the intrusion detection system, which is the ideal solution for a residential customer. Why so? Because the IDS system is basically called a a active system, right? So that is called means the active system means that, for example, if the intrusion is happening in your residence area, it will at the same time alert the end customer through the communication module, through the sounder, through the mobile application or the GSM modules. But if we compare it with the CCTV camera, the CCTV camera will not do all these things. So that is why the CCTV camera cannot replace the IDS system. This is the first and the most important point which you need to give the explanation to the end customer. Then it protects your family and property. Protect your family means, for example, there are n number of examples. Let's say if you have old parents in your home and they have some medical emergency, so you can provide the panic buttons or a push button, a wireless key, wireless panic buttons, so that in case of any emergency they can press and alert someone. Or if a person go for the vacations most of the time and he wants to protect the system, right? So in that case, you can give the IDS system. So all these things can be covered up with the intrusion detection system. And more or less it will give you the peace of mind. Because if someone is protecting your house when you are not there in your premises, then obviously it will give you a peace of mind that someone is guarding my system. Okay, so let us see a overview of the intrusion detection system. So this is the architecture of IDS system. We have already learned about the IDS architecture. For example, in the IDS system, we have one control panel or the control system, which is the brain of the system. So with this control system, we have the are like your eyes and the ears of a system. So the sensors can be anything which is protecting your premises, for your doors, for your windows, for your perimeter boundaries, comes under the sensors section. So whatever the alert we are receiving from the sensors to the control panel simultaneously doing the communication part. So how it is doing the communication part? Through mobile applications, through GSM modules, through IP modules, means it is start sending the notifications to the end customer. Along with that, it also activates the local sounder so that the local person get alerted. And another application is the integrated software. So nowadays, when the technology is moving very fast, so the end customer has the requirement to give the pop-up of a CCTV camera whenever there is any intrusion is happening. So we can have an integrated software application also along with this. So if we go in a little bit more deeper manner, then what exactly we have as a control system? So this is like a control system, which is also called a control panel. So on the left side, you can see these are called the sensors, which is protecting my residence area. Sensors can be anything, which is protecting my doors, windows, outside area, indoor area, all are considered as sensors. Then the communication modules can be your sounder, your mobile application modules, landline dialers, all comes under the communication module. And more advanced version is called the software, integrated softwares also comes under the communication module. So this is little bit the explanation of what we have learned about the architecture. Then the installer journey. So from here, now as what Marish has said, that due to the due to we got the feedback from most of the customers that they want to learn about the installation and the commissioning part, which is the most important for any IDS system. So here is what the installer need to do. From here, the installer job starts, right? So what he has to do, number one is called site survey. So site survey is one of the most important part of designing the intrusion detection system. Then after the site survey, our installer will do the installation part. So the installation will include the programming of the sensors, mounting and the installation of the sensors, and the control panel, and then it is called commissioning, right? So everything will come under the installation part. After that, we do handover. So the handover process is also very, very important, because ultimately the owner of the system is the end user, right, where you are installing the system. So if we are installing in a residence area, the owner or the user who will going to use the system, we need to get them trained. So there are 4 5 steps or 4 5 process which we have to tell them very clearly. We have all the documentation prepared for that one also. We will share that along with when we share this presentation and the recording. So the handover procedure is also very, very important. Then the last is called the maintenance visits. So during the warranty period, we do the maintenance visits, and after warranty also. So let us understand about the site survey. So here we have taken one of the example. There is one person called Mr. Amit Sharma, who is 35 years old IT guy and who is living in Gurgaon with his family. So he has kids also in the family, and so he often go for the the official visits and sometimes for the vacations outside country. So he has a fear in his mind that what happens afterwards to my home, to my premises, when no one is there in my home, right? So he want to install the IDS system at his home. Now he has called one of our installer, the registered partner for the for the site survey. So our partner went to the site, and so during the site survey, there is one proper questionnaire we have, right? So we will share that questionnaire also. All these questions need to be asked from the end customer. If you are not asking all these questions, then your site survey is not complete. Once you have all the questions answered, then you can easily make a BOQ solution, right? And there will not be any problem during the installation because you have done your site survey properly. Then what all questions you need to ask, as you can see here, is the house under construction or already constructed? So you will receive the answer no. Then, this inference means when the customer said something, then after that you will have something in your mind running. Okay, the house is not under construction. Then installer is thinking, okay, then I can provide him a wireless solution because wiring cannot be happen at the site. The house is already constructed. Then another question, how many doors and windows are there? So accordingly, you have all these questions. Once all these questions are being answered, then you have a complete solution ready with you. That okay, at this site, I have very minimum wiring option. Number two, I have this much number of doors. Then I have this much number of windows. Then there is a perimeter area which I need to protect. That you have to figure it out also. That if you feel that okay, intrusion can happen at these particular areas, which is called the pain area, right? Where intrusion can happen, you need to write it down in your question answers page, right? Then accordingly, we provide the sensors for that particular area. So this site survey includes all the questions which you are asking from the customer. Then number two, there is something in the mind of the customer also, which he wants to tell you. Just listen to them, that what he tries to say. Then number three, if any burglary happened in the past, note it down, from where burglary has happened, how it was happened. All these points you have to written it down. Then number fourth is called risk assessment. So the risk assessment is the thing which you have to figure it out on your own. How you have to figure it out? For example, there is a residence where you have visited, right? As we have taken the residential application example. So in the residence, you need to figure it out. Is there any adjacent wall of someone? There is the adjacent wall of another owner. So from that wall, anyone can enter into my premises. So that wall need to be protect. That area need to be protect. Okay. So these type of things you have to figure it out. Let's take another example. You, you should always visit the complete residence, including the terrace part also. Because sometimes what happens, some other premises terrace is touching to our premises, then someone can enter through the terrace part also, right? So these type of things you have to figure it out and you have to include in your BOQ designing. Okay, do not left all small parts, otherwise it will make the intrusion detection system ineffective, right? Once you have all the sensors, all the areas written it down, then we'll able to figure it out that okay, these much of sensors we have to give, wired or wireless sensors we have to give, perimeter sensors we have to give. Accordingly, we have to conclude that which control panel we have to give. Okay, once we have all the data, then our site survey is complete. This is called a successful site survey. And guys, all the questions which is written over here, there is a checklist we have created. We already have a checklist. What all questions you need to be asked when you are visiting at site, right? So we will share that checklist also when we share the presentation. So once the site survey is complete, then we have a complete BOQ ready. So as per the total number of sensors, we have concluded the control panel. Now here I have taken the example that I have a two floor of residence, ground floor and first floor. Okay. After the site survey, that's what I have concluded. Both the floors are of 2000 square feet area. Number one. Number two, we are giving a wireless solution. Okay. Some of the bit are wired, but most of the sensors are wireless. Then number three, we have to give the wireless expanders on each floor, because note down this point that for every 2000 square feet area, especially for the residence area, we have to give one wireless expander. Okay, so all these points I have derived from my site survey. Correct. So these are the control panel. The control panel I have taken Elite 64W live front panel. So this is the control panel. So you can see on the control panel we have onboard keypad, and as the name suggests, 64-W means inside the control panel I have a wireless receiver which support 32, which has inbuilt 32 wireless zones, right? So this control panel has inbuilt 32 wireless zones and a onboard keypad. So I have taken one panel. Along with that, I have taken 8XP-W expander. Why so? For the first floor area, because I am putting the control panel on ground floor area, which is covering all the wireless sensors of ground floor. And then I have to cover the first floor area also. So for the first floor area, I have taken one expander, 8XP-W. So 8 means this expander can take maximum 8 wireless zones. Okay, so 32 wireless zones inside my control panel, and then additional 8 XPW for the first floor, which can take another 8 wireless zones. Okay, and with my site survey, I have concluded the quantity and the type of sensors. So what all sensors are these? Capture P15-W. So this is the PIR motion sensor, 2 quantity. Then micro contact-W, 4 quantity. This is for the doors, openable door. I have taken micro contact-W. Then impact SC-W. This is called a dual sensor. So the doors, let's say we have a glass door, which can be broken or which can be open. The two features are there on the door. Or I have a slider door, right? So for protecting these type of doors, I need a dual sensor. So SC-W, S means shock, C means contact. Okay, so this is one quantity. Then micro panic button. So the panic buttons are generally used for the emergency purpose. If you have kids in your home, if you have old grandparents in your home and they have some medical emergency, So you can provide a panic buttons in case of any emergency. They can press the panic button and alert someone. Then I have taken the outdoor PIR also. So this outdoor PIR is for maybe protecting any critical areas. So there are sometimes critical areas, as I said, that I have a wall, the outside wall, which is just adjacent to the another premises walls, right? Where a lot of chances are there the intrusion can happen. A person can break or jump from that wall and can come inside easily into my premises. So I need to protect that area also. So to protect outside area, you need a outdoor PIR sensors. And please remember one thing, Texecom sensors are used for indoor areas only. Whether it's a PIR motion sensors, whether it's a magnetic contacts, vibration sensor, dual sensors, any type of sensors, the Texecom sensors are used for indoor area. For outdoor PIR motions or outdoor sensors, there is another brand or multiple brands are available in the market. You can use either one and you can connect it on our control panel. Okay. Then another thing we have to connect is called the communicators. So under communicator, we have sounders. Then we have a SmartCom. SmartCom is for the cloud-based mobile application. So if customer is outside and he want to get the notifications during any alarm conditions, then customer can receive it through this SmartCom. And the last thing which we need to give is the external battery. So here the control panel which I am using is polycarbonate control panel. So in this control panel, as you can see the size of the control panel, inside the control panel there is some open space available which is used for the battery. So you can insert the battery. This is called the external battery, which is used for the power backup. So the battery we use is 12 volts 7Ah for polycarbonate panels. And this battery goes inside the control panel. Okay. And the power backup is somewhere around 6 to 7 hours. It all depends upon how much load we have given to the control panel, but generally it is around about 6 to 7 hours of power backup from the battery. So the site survey is done. The second important part is called installation, because after the site survey, we have concluded the products. What all products need to be installed at Mr. Amit Sharma's house. Okay. So once we concluded the product, now we have to do the installation. So guys, very important part starts from here. Why so? Because now here, as you have saw that we are doing the installation for a residential area. And in the residential area, we are giving a wireless solution. Most of the bits are wireless, right? Now, so always remember that whenever you are giving a wireless solution, whether it's a residence, whether it's a bank, whether it's a warehouse, whether it's a farmhouse, right? If you are going for a wireless solution, so during the installation time, what you need to do, which is very important, you have to keep everything on the table, your control panel, all the expanders, the expander should be connected to the control panel, and all the sensors should be enrolled first by putting everything on the table. I'm repeating. So you have to install, you have to do the programming of all the wireless sensors in your panel, in your expanders, one by one, by putting it everything on the table itself. This is very important when you are doing wireless installations. Okay. Once all the programming is complete, and specifically I'm talking about the enrolling of the sensors. Okay, this is called the enrolling of the sensors. All the enrolling of the sensors is complete. Then power off your control panel and start mounting the devices. Mount your control panel, as we have taken the example of this residential sector. So mount your 64W control panel on ground floor area. Mount your expander on the first floor area. So now here is another interesting thing which I need to discuss. As we are using the wireless solution, we are installing the wireless solution. So what happens? All the wireless sensor will communicate with their wireless receiver, right? So the sensors which are enrolled on the first floor expander, they will communicate with the first floor expander only. And all the sensors which are enrolled in the control panel, they will communicate with the control panel only. Correct? So here, when you are mounting your control panel and the expanders, so you have to put in an open area. You cannot put your panel or the wireless expander in a server room or in a closet area, or inside the cabinet. No, because these are the wireless devices. All the wireless sensor will communicate with these devices, with these expander and the control panels. So you cannot put these devices, the control panel and the expanders, in a closed area. You have to put it in an open area so that the communication will happen properly. The communication will flow properly. Okay. So we have done the enrolling of the sensors, and after that you have started mounting the devices. What all things you have mounted? Your control panel, expander, so control panel or ground floor, expander on first floor. Connections between the control panel and the expander will be wired. Please remember that. But the sensors which are enrolled are wireless, are battery operated. And the battery life depends upon the usage of the devices. Generally, it varies from 1.5 years to 2 years. Okay, 1.5 years to 2 years life will remain of the battery. So this is a little bit a deeper image, or I can say the PCB layout of Elite 64W control panel. The panel which we are installing at Mr. Sharma house. This one. Inside the control panel, we have this PCB layout actually. Okay. So this PCB layout you have already learned in our previous training presentations, where we have explained about the PCB solution. So I will not go much into detail of these things, but you can see there are two antennas. These two antennas, or this part, everyone can see my pointer. This part is called a wireless receiver, which will give you 32 wireless zones. Correct? And on the bottom side, you have 4 wired zones also for the wired sensors connection. Okay. So we'll move to the next slide. Now powering up your control panel. So for powering up the control panel, this is the main power source where you are getting the main power supply. So unswitched fuse, you have to connect over there, and with the control panel is here and the battery is connected. So 12 volt 7Ah battery inside the control panel's box. This is how you need to connect. Always remember, we have to give first AC power and then connect the battery. Never power up your control panel with battery only. Always give AC first. This is the fundamental of intrusion detection system. So before we proceed further, anyone has any doubts till this slide, please ask me, and I request everyone, please ask whatever I have just shown you. Do not ask out of the context question.
Ribu, there's one question. Someone is asking, what about wired sensors? If you're offering wired solution, then what is the distance from sensor to expander or sensor to panel?
Sir, I will cover that part once I will show you about the wired sensor connection in the upcoming slide. So just wait for a while. I will answer the question. But anyone asked, if anyone want to ask related to the site survey, BOQ designing, please ask
Uh,
me.
Ribu,
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Hello.
Ribu, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So my fundamental question was because we're looking at a home, is there a way to bring out an external antenna from the panel? Because the panels are bulky, and as you said, they need to be out in a place where they are open. But home aesthetics typically don't allow for such bulky panels to be placed out in the open. So is there a way around by bringing an external antenna into the picture here?
So if you think that the panel is bulky and it, aesthetic wise, it will be difficult for the customer to say, okay. So we have the expanders. The expander is just like your the routers, which we used for the boosters, which we say, right? You have the boosters inside your home, right? On every floor, we connect the boosters for the good signal strength of your phones. So it's just like your booster kind of size of the device. You can have expanders on each floor instead of control panel.
So we take a wired control panel and then add expanders directly instead of taking a wireless control panel. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So we
Okay.
have a different ways of connecting, of using the control panels. We have a different type of control panels also, where customer don't want to see the control panel, but he's okay with the expanders. So what we can do, we can put the control panel inside the server area, and we take out the 4-core wire for that expander. And from first expander to second expander, we need to connect the wire.
Yeah, we've done installations. Yeah, expander looks
Yes.
good enough. Fair enough. Thank you.
Yes. In that way, you can do that. See, guys, here I have taken
Hello?
one example of residential area where I am putting a 64W control panel. It is not like for every site you have to use this panel only. It all depends, as what sir has asked, that customer is not ready to see the control panel. So you can use a different control panel and you can have wireless expanders on each floor. That is also possible. Yes. Next question, please.
One person is asking for a picture of expander, wireless expander. We'll show that in the next slide, sir. Any other questions? Okay, Ribu, you can go forward.
Okay. No
We'll
problem.
take other questions later in the
Hello, sir.
Karthik. Yes.
Hello, sir. Karthik.
Yes.
Hello.
Karthik, बताइए. Yes, Karthik.
Yes. Fine. I need a doubt in some other sensors. There is available gas detector sensor or smoke sensors.
Sorry.
Gas detector sensors, gas leak sensors
Okay.
for kitchen and smoke detector sensors.
So gas leak sensors, as such, till date, in Texecom we don't have a gas leak sensors, but yes,
Okay.
you can use the smoke detectors. A Texecom has a smoke detectors available, or you can also use the third-party smoke detectors like System Sensors or Apollo.
Fine,
That
sir.
is also possible. Yes, you can use it. No problem.
Yeah, and one important thing to keep in mind about smoke sensors and residents, do not keep that in kitchen because Indian cooking style typically gives out a lot of
Sir,
smoke.
sir,
So
the gas sensor we can use.
yeah, you can use LPG gas detectors or fire sensors which detect
Sir,
flame.
gas leak sensors there is available.
Yes, gas leak sensors are available, sir. You can use it with our control panel, no problem.
Yeah, they've got third-party
Yeah,
LPG gas leak
there is
monitors.
one company called TrueSafe, so there are other companies also. You can use anyone, no problem in that. Okay.
Okay. Fine, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So guys, let's move forward. So someone was asking about how the expanders looks like. So this is the expander. If you really want to know about the size and the dimensions, we will share the data sheet also, or it is available online. You can check the size and its dimensions also. It is just like a small router, right? So let's understand about the connections of the expander. So these are called the wireless expander, but the connections of the expander with the control panel will be wired. Wireless expander means the sensors which we are enrolling in the panel in the expander will be wireless, and the wireless technology which we are using is called ricochet mesh technology, and it works on the 866 megahertz frequency, RF frequency, radio frequency, right? So here is the connection. On the control panel we have a network port, so we have just expanded the network port, which is made up of 4 terminals: positive, negative, T as in transmission, R as in receiver, and the same terminals are available on the expander also. So it's just a simple connection of 4-core cable. For the residential sectors, we generally recommend to use 0.5 square mm 4-core or 8-core cable. A good practice is always take additional cores, because if your connection depends upon the wiring, then always go with the additional cores. Here is the connection. So positive to positive, then negative to negative, T to T, R to R. Simple. Okay. Okay. So here is the another thing and the very important thing which we need to understand. So as we have saw that we have taken Elite 64W control panel for the ground floor area and an additional expander for first floor area, so that we can cover all the wireless sensors properly. Each floor is made up of 2000 square feet area, the covered area I'm talking about. Now here is the point. As we have taken additional expander, now this additional expander is going to connect on the control panel on the network port, which we have just saw in the previous slide. Now our control panel should also be able to know that okay, one expander is connected, but our control panel will also be able to know that okay, what all zones our control panel will provide to the expander. Means, as you have just saw, just a minute, I'll tell you. Here it is on the PCB board. So on the control panel I have 4 wired zones: 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the zone numbers. Zone number 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 zones are here. Then I have 32 wireless zones. Our 32 wireless zones starts from zone number 9. So 9 to 40 is our wireless zones. Okay. Now, after that, whenever I'm connecting any additional expander to my control panel, that expander will take the zones from zone number 41. Okay, because up to 40 zones, my wireless zones are consumed. Now anything is added to my control panel, any new expander is added to the control panel, that expander will take address number 5 and it will start from zone number 41. So here is the addressing part. Inside the expander, we have this dip switch terminals. It looks like this. Okay. Now to give it address number 5, because anything which will connect on our 64W control panel, it will take as address number 5. It will start as address number 5, but we need to turn on the dip switch accordingly. So which dip switch we need to turn on? 1 and 4. This is the generic view of the dip switch we have shown. But if you want to address the expander to number 5, you need to turn on dip switch number 1 and 4. So once you turn on it 1 and 4, it will take address 5, and you can program zone number 41 to 48. So this is how you have to address the expander, and this is how you have to enroll the sensors into the zones. By chance, if you give address number 6 to this expander, you can give it. You can skip address number 5 and you can give address number 6 also. That is also very much possible. But in that case, my control panel will assign zone number 49 to 56 to this expander. Okay, so always remember that the zone number which is given to my expander, it all depends upon the addressing of that expander. If it is on address number 5, it will take 41 to 48. If it is on address number 6, it will take 49 to 56. And guys, be very particular when you are assigning the address to the expander. Let's say when I'm enrolling the sensors, I have given address number 5 to the expander and I have enrolled on 41 to 48. Now, when when I'm mounting all the expanders, I have mistakenly made address number 6. Instead of 5, I have turned on number 2 dip switch and 4 dip switch, and I have made it to 6 instead of 5. But remember that you have enrolled on zone number 41 to 48. So you cannot give address number 6 now to the expander. You have to give address number 5 to this expander only. Okay, otherwise you will messed up with all the programming which you have done for this expander. So addressing and enrolling is very important. Always do a marking on each and every sensor, on each and every expander, that okay, this is on address number 5 and these are the sensors number 41, 42, 43, 44 up to 48. So that in the end you do not get confused and it does not get mixed up. Okay, so now as I told you that we have already enrolled all the wireless sensors into the zones, right? So here is, the overview of what we have done. What we have taken here is, as I have told you, that the residence has 2 floors, ground floor and first floor. Ground floor is of 2000 square feet area. First floor is of 2000 square feet area. This area part I will explain in a later on stage. Then on the ground floor, I am connecting my 64W control panel. So on the control panel, I have 4 wired zones. I have onboard 32 wireless zones also, which I'm getting from the onboard expander, and which is giving me the zones 9 to 40. So 9 to 40 are my 32 wireless zones I'm getting. Okay, so there are different rooms in my ground floor area, which is called garden area, living room area, parents room. Okay, and these are the sensors which I am placing. Now here you can see third party outdoor PIR. So this I am connecting on zone 1, and you are aware that my zone 1 to 4 is the wired zones. So I am using one wired sensor also. Okay, this is called the outdoor PIR motion. any brand you can use, but one of the very best product which we generally use for the outdoor areas is called the optic sensors. Okay, so this is we are using as a wired sensor on zone 1. ODC3 sounder. Why we have taken ODC3 sounder? This is a wired sounder. It does not take any zone. Remember that. So the Texecom control panels, every control panel has a dedicated terminals for the sounder. Sounder never connects on zone. Please make a note of that. So we have taken a ODC3 sounder also, Texecom sounder. Then for the living room area, I have taken magnetic contact, wireless PIR motion, and a dual sensor. And the zones I have given 9, 10, 11. Then again, 2 more sensor on 12 and 13. Now, on the first floor area, I have 2 rooms, bedroom, master bedroom and kids bedroom. And here also I have installed some of the sensors. These sensors, as you know that we are using additional expander, and expander is on address number 5. So the zones will be assigned from 41 to 48. And here it is, from 41, I will get the zones numbering. Okay, so that's how I have done the programming of the zones. Now you can see the area A and area B. What does it mean? So after the installation is done, there is a requirement from Mr. Sharma. So this person, as you can see, so this person said that, okay, you have done the installation, but now I want to arm my ground floor area different time and the first floor arming of the first floor area on a different time. Okay, it means, let's say during the daytime our whole family remains on the ground floor area, no one goes to the first floor area. Okay, so during the daytime and during the afternoon time also, my first floor area will remain armed, but my ground floor area should not be armed. Okay, this is his requirement. And in the night time, all the family members go to first floor and the ground floor area remains vacant. No one is there in the ground floor area in the night time. So what I want to do the arming of both the areas differently whenever I want. This is what Mr. Sharma is saying to the installer now. Now here, what he need to do, what the installer will do here, he will not put a different panel in both the areas. For ground floor area, he will put a different panel. For first floor area, he will put a different panel. No, our control panel has one of the feature called areas. So the panel which we are installing, Elite 64W control panel, this panel has the capacity of 4 areas, A, B, C, D. 4 areas you can make. But here we have a requirement of only 2 areas. So what we will do? So what we will do, from zones 1 to 13. 1 to 13, because 1 to 13 are all are in ground floor area. I will assign it as area A, and from 41 to 44, because these are in second floor area. From 41 to 44, I will assign it as area B. Okay. So what will happen? Customer has the provision to arm or disarm both the areas whenever he want. Okay, this is called making a different areas, or in a simple words, you can say partitions, right? You can also say partitions, partition 1 or partition 2. So partition or the area is one and the same thing. Okay, so now let's understand about the wired outdoor PIR sensors wiring. So this is one of the PIR or you can say a beam sensor, twin beam sensor. It's a optics make and a 5 meter of range. So I need to cover some outdoor area with this sensor. How to do the wiring? So this sensor will have a power terminals, 12 positive and negative 12 volt, then the alarm terminals and the tamper terminals. So if you are using a 4-core wire, so the 2-core wire will connect on the power, positive and negative, and the alarm terminals wire will go to the zones, zone 1 and zone 1 terminals. If you want to give the tamper connections also, you need to have a additional 2-core wire and you have to use another zone number, zone 2, for the tamper connection. If you want to use with the 2-core wire, tamper as well as alarm, then you have to use the resistors and you have to do the double pole end of line resistors connections. You have already saw the connections with the resistors, how to do that. 4K7 and 2K2 resistor value we have to use if you want to connect with the 2-core wire only, alarm as well as tamper. Okay, so this is how you need to do the connections of a wired sensor. Now come to the wireless sensors. So guys, here I will not explain or I will not show you how to enroll the wireless sensors because that bit we have already covered in the previous training sessions. Today's session is related to the installation part, how to do the installation, commissioning and the handover. In the previous in this wired connection, just want to explain you that the distance of this wired sensor from the zone terminal should not be more than 50 to 60 meters. The connection of a wired sensor to the zone terminal should not be more than 50 to 60 meters. And the connection of the expander with the control panel should not be more than 60 to 70 meters. Okay. If you are going more than 70 or sometimes 80 meters, then there might be chances of power drop, voltage drop. Then you have to use the external power supply for that particular expander. But it doesn't mean that you can connect up to 200 meters and you can use the external power supply, it will work. No, it will not work. If you go more than 100 meters, let's say you went to up to 150 meters and you are using external power supply to the expander, it will not going to work. So don't take these things very lightly. Okay, if you are using the if you are putting at a like more than 100 meters, you are on risk. It may work or it may not work, even if you are using the external power supply also, because there are number of factors we have to consider. What type of wires you are using, what quality of wire you are using. You do not use cat6 cable at all for any site, and don't ask all these questions, sir, I have all the wiring done with the cat6, now tell me what to do. I told you clearly that cat6 cable is not meant for the IDS system, intrusion detection system. For the IDS system, we never use cat6 cables. If you are using a cat6 cable, maybe today or tomorrow, you will definitely face challenges at the site. Okay, so we now come to the wireless sensors enrolling. So wireless sensor enrolling, as I told you that I will not going to show you how to do the enrolling of wireless sensor, because that part we have already covered when we have done the wireless training, wireless sensors training, right? But what all things you need to consider here? Number one, you need to enroll the sensors by putting everything on the table. Then start mounting the sensors. So when you mount the sensors, first you have to mount it temporarily. Why so? Once you mount the sensor temporarily and check the signal strength, whether the sensors are communicating properly with the expanders or not. Okay. Then once you got the confirmation, okay, all the sensors are communicating properly, then start mounting and fixing the sensors at that particular location. Okay, this this is the procedure of enrolling and mounting and installing the wireless Texecom solution. Okay, because you have a lot of options to check whether the wireless sensors are communicating properly or not. You have a ricochet monitors software. Through that you can see each and every status of your wireless sensor, whether the sensor is active or in a normal state, the battery condition is okay or not, the tamper conditions are okay or not. Everything you can check through the ricochet monitor software. So one by one, all the installations you have to do, you have to check the status of the sensors in the same way. First connect it in a temporarily way, check the status of the signal, and then mount it properly, fix it properly once the signal strength is good. So that's how you have to follow for each and every sensors for this particular site, right, for this residential area. And if anyone wants to see how to enroll this particular sensor, we have given a link on each slide. You can click on it and see the installation, sorry, the programming part, how to enroll this particular sensor into the zone. Correct. Now come to the micro contact W. So the procedure will remain same. Another important thing which you have to take care about is that maybe most of you guys are not aware about. We have a micromagnetic contact. The back plate which we have is now come with a deep base also. So the deep base means sometimes you have faced a lot of challenges while mounting the wireless micromagnetic contact on any metal surface, right? So in order to improve the signal strength and in order to reduce the interference level, what we have come up with, we have come up with the deep base devices. So the deep base we have for the micro sensors, whether it's a micromagnetic contact, whether it's a micro shock sensor, or whether it's a micro panic button. For all these, you can have a deep base. So the back plate we have, you can change the back plate basically, which has a more deep space in it. Okay, this is what you have to take care about while doing the installation. If you feel that there is some interference going on, change it with the deep base. So the same link is given for enrolling of the sensor. You can see the video also. So this is for the dual sensor. So same procedure you have to follow for checking the signal strength of the sensor and then mounting the sensor properly. Same for the micro panic button. And always remember that the micro panic button is not like a sensor which you can put in your pocket and move here and there. No, you have to fix the micromagnetic contact somewhere. If they want in a bedroom area, fix it, or in a guest room area. You cannot keep it like in your pocket and you are roaming here and there, or by chance, by mistake, you have taken it out of range. Then it will start giving you pole error or radio config fail error. So it will cause a problem for your working in the wireless solution. Okay. So now come up with the sounder connection. on the control panel, you can see there are sounder terminals. Everyone can see my red pointer. These are the 5 terminals: STRB, 0 volt, temp, bell, 12 volt, which is shown here in the expanded form. So the same terminals are available on the main sounder, the wired ODC3 sounder. Same connections you have to do. We need 5 core wire here. Another important thing which you have to take care about is that by default, temp and 0 volt is shorted with a small jumper. These two terminals are short with a small jumper. You need to take out this jumper and do the wiring which is shown here. So guys, while doing the connection, I am repeating again, if you are doing a connection of a Texecom sounder, you need to take out this jumper, temp and 0 volt. But if you are connecting a third party sounder, do not take out this jumper. Keep it as it is. Okay. Now come to the programming part. So for the programming part, let me show you a little bit from the Wintex. Let me connect my control panel with the Wintex software. So guys, as you are aware that Wintex is a programming software which we use to program and diagnose the control panel and the sensors. So I'm connecting the Wintex software. Let me show you another window. Just a minute. So guys, this is the Wintex software, and this software is basically used for programming the control panel, and then you can also do the troubleshooting and diagnostics through this Wintex software. So let's first create a profile. Panel detail, Elite 64W. I have a version 5. Click on add. Go to setup, PC com, select your COM port, connect using PC com. To cancel. So always remember that, guys, as I have told you that you have to enroll your wireless sensors first by putting it everything on the table, right? So my software, this software which is running on my PC is a default software. It does not have any type of data as of now. And I'm connected with the control panel. It is showing online ready. So every time the first step should be go to receive and click on receive panel programming data. So what I am doing here is I am receiving all the data from my control panel to my PC. Okay, so with this step, what I have done and what it will happen, all the wireless sensors which I have programmed in the panel, now here in the zones it will start showing. Okay, so I have programmed these are the sensors which I have programmed. Okay, so this is always remain your first step. Remember that whenever you connect your Wintex software, you have to do receive, and in the receive go to receive panel programming data. This is the first step you have to follow every time. And the second step which you have to do after receiving the data is go to send, and send read date and time. So what does it mean? Send read date and time. Whenever you power on your panel, the time of the panel is default, factory default. So I want to send the current date and time. So click on send. You can see now the time has been changed. Okay, so you have to just click on send one time and that's it. So this is what you have to do every time whenever you are connecting your Wintex software with the control panel. So I'm hanging up here. Just a minute. So be very careful while using the Wintex software, and especially when you have a wireless sensors enrolled. Okay, if by chance you have not done this receive panel programming data, by chance, when you have first time connected and you have not done the receive panel programming data, then there may be chances that you lost all your wireless programming. Okay, and you have to start over again. So it will be, a too hectic for you while doing the intrusion detection system installation. Although it is very simple if you know about the procedure. So these are the first things which you have to follow every time. Receive panel programming data, number one, then set panel date and time. Okay, now come to the concept of area, zones, and global. So guys, as you have just saw, I'll just take you on the previous slide here. As you have just saw, these are the sensors, total sensors which I am enrolling, I am installing at the Mr. Sharma house. And these are the zone numbers, the zones taken in the control panel, right? Now these zones are categorized into two areas. As you have just saw, ground floor I am giving as area A. Then first floor I am giving as area B, because this is what the requirement of Mr. Sharma. He want to arm and disarm on a different timings. You don't want everything in a single area, right? So you have saw that within the area we have zones. Okay, a group of zones. Group of zones come under area. In area A also there are some of the zones. In area B also I have couple of zones. And both area A and area B is called as global. So the group of area is called global. So under global, both area A and area B comes. Correct? So zone is again a smaller part. Zone is a part of area. Group of zones is called area. And a group of area is called global. So this is what it means.
Ribu, I just want to add one additional thing to this.
Yes.
So it's important that installers understand the difference between zone, area, and global. So when you open Wintex, on your left side on the menu, you will see zones, you'll see areas, you'll see global. These are all separate menus. So if you want to program anything, if you want to make if you make any change in zone programming, it affects that one particular sensor only. If you make any changes to area programming, it affects only that particular area. If you want to make any change to the entire control panel, those options are available in global. So if you're looking at changing some settings or programming in a panel, this is the categorization you need to understand. If you want to change the way just one particular sensor works, go to zones and go to that particular zone. And there you need to make the modifications. That's the categorization in which this is the terminology that is used in intrusion detection system. Zones, areas, and global. And another important thing about area is that one thing that you need to keep in your mind is you cannot arm or disarm a particular sensor, right? Let's say you've got a door sensor, you've got motion sensor. You cannot individually arm one particular sensor. Zones cannot be armed. You can only arm areas, right? Which is a group of zones. So these sensors can be anywhere. They don't need to be present only on one particular room or one particular floor. It's a virtual grouping. You can pick some sensors in first floor, some sensors in second floor, put them into one area. You can do that also if that is your application. Or you can put all the sensors outside of your home in one area and the sensors inside your home in another area. It's up to completely your choice and how the customer wants to arm and disarm. So that is why an area is a grouping of zones and you can only arm or disarm an area. You cannot arm or disarm a sensor. Okay, so that's why this concept you need to understand the difference between zone, area, and global. Okay, Ribu, you can go on to the next slide.
Yes. So, guys, now one of the very important concept of intrusion detection system is like, so you have done the installation, the site is complete. Now you are testing the system. So now if we want to test the system, what we need to do is we need to activate the system. So activation means in the IDS terminology, it is called arming the system, right? So arming or disarming the system. So if you want to test whether all the sensors are working properly or not, what you need to do, as what Manish has said, that we cannot arm each and every zone. Rather than we have to arm the areas. Now let us understand in that way. So I have one panel installed at my home. Now I want to arm the system. Now here in the system, as what Mr. Amit Sharma has a requirement of two areas, ground floor area and first floor area, which we have given as area A as a name and area B to the other area, to the first floor area. Now, when we arm the system, it will ask you, the system will ask you, do you want to arm area A or area B? Right? Because you have made two areas in the system. That's why system is asking about areas. It's not asking, do you want to arm zone 1, zone 2, zone 3? No, it will never ask like that. It will rather ask you, do you want to arm area A, area B, like that, right? So this is called, now come to the different terminology. As you can see on the presentation, it is written as part arm versus area wise arm. So you all understood about the area arming, as we have two areas, ground floor as well as the first floor area, right? So simply the system, you can arm whether area A you want to arm or you want to arm area B. Or the third thing is you can arm both the areas at one time also. So this is called area wise arming. Now come to the part arming. So the Texecom system gives you the option of arming the area within the area. Means, let's take ground floor area. I have a ground floor area, which is the name I have given as area A. Now in the area A, I have one PIR motion sensor, which is on, let's say, zone number 9. I have a zone number 9 as a PIR motion sensor. Now, the customer says during the morning time, I have kids also, they roam here and there in the home. So I don't want to arm the PIR motion. I want the PIR will remain deactive. But rest all the other ground floor sensors remain activated. So are you understanding the requirement? Customer wants that the PIR motion which is at my ground floor area, I don't want to arm that, or I don't want that PIR will active. I want that PIR will remain deactive, and all the other sensors in the ground floor will remain active. This is what he wants. So instead of area arming, area A arming, you have to do part arming. So in the part arm, what will happen when you do the part arm in the system? Once the system is part armed, that PIR motion will be bypassed, and rest all the other sensors will activated. Okay, so this is what you need to do in the programming part. Okay, this is this. It's not like that. Okay, the customers now wants, instead of PIR motion, he want to deactivate the door sensor now. It's not like that. It is what you have to do the programming in the initial stage. And this part arming generally happens when we have a PIR motion inside the home. So this part arming is also called as stay arming. In maybe in other brands also, you might have heard of stay arming or part arming. Okay, it's one and the same thing. So stay arming or part arming means I want to bypass the PIR motion, but want to activate all other sensors which is on my ground floor area. I'm not talking about first floor area. So are you understanding what I am saying? I'm talking about only ground floor area. I'm arming the ground floor area, but still I am bypassing one of the zone, which is a PIR motion. So this is called part arming, means you are arming the area within the area. Okay, so Texecom panel has the capability to give you 3 type of part arming in the same area. Means within area A, you have 3 type of part arming: part arm 1, part arm 2, part arm 3. And the programming which you need to enable, the customer need to tell you in advance, because during the commissioning and the programming time, the installer will do this programming, and every time whenever customer armed the system, let's say part 2 arm or part 3 arm, then he can do that. Okay, so every area gives you 3 type of part arming options also. It means in Elite 64 panel, Elite 64W panel, we have 4 areas, and each area has the capability of 3 type of part arming: part 1 arm, part 2 arm, part 3 arm, along with full arm. So hope you will able to understand that what does part arming means and what does area wise arming means.
Just want to add a couple of more things to what Ribu said.
Yes.
So this is slightly complex, the part arming and area wise arming. I understand that. We just want to explain to you the amount of flexibility you get with Texecom panel, right? So like we said, area is a grouping of sensors. You need not arm just an area. What part arming allows you is that even within that area, you can create 3 different kinds of partitions, right? So if 64W has area A, B, C, D, 4 areas are possible. Even within each area, you can do 3 different kinds of part arms. So essentially, you can get 12 different ways in which you can control. So, and you can also do a mix and match. Let's say you're going out and then you want to do part arm 2 of area A and part arm 3 of area B. That's also possible. So you can do a lot of flexibility with this. All of this comes from your customer's understanding. How does your customer want to use the system? What all things he want? Let's say if he's going on vacation, what all sensors he wants them to be active. Let's say he's going to office, what things need to be active. In the night mode, what needs to be an active. In holiday mode, what needs to be active. So depending upon what all things he wants to control, you can group them into areas and partitions within that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Ribu, you can go on.
Thanks, Marish. Hopefully you're able to understand about this part arming and area-wise arming, correct? So let's move on now to the zone programming. So here I just want to tell you about how to do the zone programming. So guys, as you have just saw about this zones categorization, which we have done here, right? On zone 1, we have connected PIR motion. Then on zone 9, we have connected magnetic contact. So as you have just saw all these devices, how it works. The PIR motion generally detects a human being, correct? This is called a passive infrared rays motion detector. Your panic button, once you press the panic button, it will activate the main hooter and start sending the notification. When you are using a magnetic door contact, when you open the door, it gives you some delay time. Why so? So that the owner of that premises go inside, and at the keypad he should be able to disarm the system. So that door contact gives you some time delay, right? So all these functionalities are little different from each other. Now how it is different? We need to set the zone type of these each and every sensors. How we have to set the zone type of sensors? Let's see in the Wintex programming. So guys, as you see, there are this is what the profile I have created for Elite 64W control panel. So on Elite 64W control panel, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the wired zones. Then 5, 6, 7, 8 zones are not available, physically not available, correct? And the wireless zone starts from zone number 9. You can see the symbol. It's a wireless Wi-Fi symbol showing over here, which is basically your wireless sensors, representing as wireless sensors, right? So as I told you, on board there are 32 wireless sensors starting from 9 to 40. Then 41, whatever the expander you will connect, whether it's a wireless expander, it will start showing that wireless sensor. But if it is a wired sensor, it will show you as a wired sensor. So the symbol explains itself. Now come to the zone type. So as you saw in the presentation, just a minute here, when we do the zone programming, so there are some specific things which we need to program for that particular sensor, so that that particular sensor should always work in that way. If you have saw the panic button will always get active whether my panel is armed or not, correct? But your door sensor, your PIR motion sensors, the vibration or the shock sensors will never activate until and unless your panel is armed. You must have noticed this, right? Panic button remain active for 24/7 because it's a emergency situation. So that's why we need to configure that zone in that way. Now how to do that configuration? Let's say I have zone number 13. So here I need to set the zone type. So for the panic button, PA audible. So PA audible is used for the panic buttons. Guys, you can see there are a lot of zone types, but 99% of the cases we use only 5 to 6 zone types. But rest others we use for some special cases. Okay, so for panic button it is PA audible, number 1. Then you have to set the area. As I told you, for ground floor area I have given area A. If I want to put it on area B, select it on area B for first floor. Then this zone wiring will not come for the wireless sensor. It will come like that only, ricochet devices mode. So do not touch here. Do not make any changes for the wireless sensors here. And another thing which you need to do is zone text. So the zone text, sorry, just a minute. The zone text is basically your customize name, whatever the name you want to give. Let's say I want to give bedroom panic button, and I want to give the zone type as PA audible. So like that. So the zone programming is done like that only. So this is for the panic buttons. Now let's say I want to program it for the magnetic contact, wireless magnetic contact. For the wireless magnetic contact, you have to give entry exit 1, which gives you the delay time while entering and exit from the main door. Select the area as per the requirement. Ricochet device mode, do not change. Change the text. Bedroom door contact. Then come to the vibration sensors. For the vibration sensors, we always give as guard. So guard means whenever we activate the system or whenever we arm the system, once the system is full armed, then if anyone do the vibration at the window area, my vibration sensor will trigger the alarm through the control panel. Okay, means once the system is armed, this particular zone type will trigger the alarm immediately. It will not give you any delay time, the guard zone type. Okay, and if you have a PIR motion sensors, so for the PIR motion sensors, always give guard access. If it's a indoor PIR motion sensors, Texecom indoor PIR motion sensor, always give guard access. This is also immediate. The only difference is you must have saw a lot of time that whenever we open the door, a door has a magnetic contact, and whenever we open the door, in front of that door there is a PIR motion sensor, right? So for such type of situations or for any type of indoor PIR motions, always give guard access. One more sensor we have programmed, that is called outdoor PIR motion, which is the wired one. So the outdoor PIR motion should always be in a guard mode, because we want to trigger it immediately whenever system is armed. And another thing which we need to set here is for the wired sensor, zone wiring. If the device is normally closed, which is the 99% of the cases, make it as normally closed. If you have done the wiring in double pole end of line, make it as double pole end of line. So whatever the type of wiring you have done, you have to select here and give the name outdoor PIR motion. So this is all you need to do whenever you are doing zone programming. A little bit about the attributes, attribute 1 and attribute 2. Generally, in the 99% of the cases, we never make any changes here. As you can see, when we change the zone type, this automatically makes the changes. Always keep it as it is. Do not change here anything unless and until if there is any special cases, then you can get in touch with us. We'll let you know about the changes. Okay, so this is
touch upon part 1, part 2, part 3 omit within each of these zone type.
Yeah, so as we were talking about the stay arming or the part arming, that happens when you enable this part 1 omit. Let's say I have a zone 1 as PIR motion sensor, right? And I want to bypass this PIR motion sensor whenever I do part arming. So part arm means I want to bypass the PIR motion, rest everything I want to arm. So I need to enable part 1 omit. Okay, and then you can go to the keypad and do part arming from the keypad. But always remember that, as what I have told you, that during the programming time, end customer has to tell the installer that this type of arming he want and this type of setup he want. It is not like today he want to bypass zone 1 and next morning he want to bypass zone 2 during the arming, during the part arming. That is not possible, because here we need to do the programming. We need to select that particular part arming. Then and only it will enable you to bypass this particular zone when you are doing a part arming. Okay, so all these things we need to do during the programming time, and then customer can do part arming at any point of time.
Yeah, so just the to summarize about the zone programming, for every sensor that you add, whether it's a wired or wireless, you need to define zone type, which is at what time should it communicate alarm. For a sensor that is mounted on your door, you don't want it to trigger an alarm the moment you open the door. You want some time so that you go to the keypad and disarm. Your own entry into the house should not cause an alarm. That's why you would put that as entry exit. For sensors like panic buttons, whether your system is in an armed condition or disarmed condition, an emergency is an emergency. So you would put that as P audible, right? So there are different zone types, and that tells the control panel when to give an alarm, right? And then you have to also map them to areas. For each zone, you have to put them in areas, because you can only arm an area. You can't arm one zone. So which is why area is also important. Then you need to write something on the zone text. This becomes important when you set up the mobile application. If you don't have zone text, it won't reflect on the mobile application. And zone text, writing a free text there enables even your customers to understand which sensor is active. It will show up on the keypad. Right? So it's a good practice to give a name that customers can identify with in the zone text. Attributes 1 and 2 are important if you're doing something very extraordinary, or generally the typical customer requirements can be satisfied by just zone type and area and these things. But if there are any special cases, you can get in touch with us. We can go in deep about each attributes, but that will confuse a lot of us now. You have to keep in mind about the part 1, part 2, part 3 omits that are possible within each area, right? So that is available on attribute 1. So these are 4 important things that you need to do for every zone. Right? Today we've only touched upon zones. We've got a lot of things on our menu on the left, right? You've got area programming, global, user programming, comms. That will come to that in the next session. Ribu, do you want to quickly summarize what we did?
Yes,
And
yes.
then open up for question and answers.
Right. So yeah, thanks, Marish. And as what Marish has said, so today we have covered a little bit about the zones, that what all zone and zone types are there. But the in-depth programming of communication modules and what all global area means, we will cover in the next week's session. So this is all about the today's session, and let us see. So the summary is, like, we have just learned about what is the basic difference between the intrusion detection system and the CCTV, right? Why we use the IDS system, where what all applications are there of using the IDS system. Then how to perform a site survey, what all things you need to ask from the customers so that you have a proper BOQ solution ready, right? You should have each and every information starting from the all the zones, all the devices, all the perimeter areas which you need to cover, going further till the communication modules, that customer, if he wants the SMS alerts or the mobile application notification, you should be aware about each and everything. So after that, you will able to design the complete BOQ. Then we have learned about the installation part, how to do the installation, how to do the wireless sensors programming, and how to check the signal strength by just putting that sensor temporarily at the site. Then after that, we have saw the concept of zones, areas, and global. So that is basically a different type of armings, within the area, how to do different type of arming, how many type of armings are there. So that's all we have learned in today's session. So hopefully you are able to understand. And guys, if you have any questions or